Hello, welcome to today's astrology study group, and we are going to look at some interesting concepts. So let me get over to this first. All right. So you should see my screen that says aspect quick guide, and I'm going to go over this here, and then we'll look at it on the chart. So we'll get it in a couple ways. So when you look at a chart, you want to quickly see the aspects. So it's like, oh, there's a square, or oh, there's a trine, or oh, there's an opposition, and from that you'll quickly see what you're looking at, and you already know to look for degrees. But sometimes I think people get a little tripped up on how this works. So hang with me here. I'm going to show it to you this way, and then I'll show it to you in a picture form. So you might want to just close your eyes and look, or just think in your head, or whatever, or look at your chart or something like that, whatever that that you can go through this. All right, polarity. Let's start with that. So you know that every other sign is, it goes positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. You can think of positive as being masculine because it's outward. It's projecting out. It's going to do something. It's like masculine all the way around, from a penis to behavior. That's masculine, outward, aggressive, making things happen kind of behavior, as opposed to feminine, or we can use a negative sign, or yin, as opposed to yang, which is drawing in. It's seductive. It's bringing things to you. It's not going after something. It's something coming to you. Difference of the bee and the flower. So you can think about it that way. All right, so polarity. Let's look at it in a few ways. So we know that every other sign changes polarity. So if we start with Aries, that is a masculine sign. It's outward. And then it goes followed by Taurus, that's feminine. Gemini, masculine. Cancer, feminine, all the way around. So we got an example here. If we're looking at something, we look at, say, Aries to Gemini. That's 60 degrees apart. It's called a sextile, but that gets along fairly well because we've got the masculine or outward elements are fire and air. So when those connect, like we have Aries is fire and Gemini is air, they get along because they're both masculine. Okay. Or if we go the other way, Aries masculine to Aquarius masculine. Those are, it goes fire to air both ways. And we can go on around the chart, but I don't want to bore you with that. And then if we look on the other side, feminine to feminine get along. So those would, feminine elements are earth and water. So we could, an example would be Taurus to Cancer, or Taurus to Pisces. Do that the right way there. So we would have, look at your chart. You have Taurus, which would be an earth, going to Cancer, which would be water. And if we go the other way, Taurus earth would go to Pisces water. And that is another 60 degrees, or two signs apart. Because if we, assign 30 degrees per sign, then that gives us that 60 degree aspect, also known as a sextile. Now we kind of move on into a trine. We have to kind of slide into this. It's not like perfect, here kind of how it is, but I'm building on something for you. Trines are all of the same element. So we would have like all of the same, and I wrote down in the next area here for you, I have like all the fire elements would be, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and they're all trines. Okay, so like Aries to Leo, just back above that is a trine going from those two signs. Or if I went to Aries to Sagittarius, that's another trine. Or if I went to Leo to Sagittarius, that's a trine all the way around. And then we can look at another one, Taurus. That Taurus is well, let's look down here first. The earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So any combination of those. So if you see the same element connecting something, you see like there's a Taurus and you think earth, and say it's connected to Virgo, earth, and then you say, oh, okay, it's a trine. Or if you see Taurus connected to Capricorn, it's a trine. Now I have to just say this is an exception, not the rule. There are out of element trines and out of element aspects. And we'll go over that another time. Let's just put a parenthesis, just so I said it, okay? So we can have the same thing here in air, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. They would, Libra to Aquarius would be, air to air. Or Aquarius to Gemini, air to air, right? Same thing with water, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Scorpio to Pisces, or Pisces to Cancer to Scorpio. Those are all water elements, and there'll always be a trine. So you quick and see, and you go, oh, look at the moon and the sun. Oh, Cancer and Scorpio. Oh, there's a trine, moon, and then, oh, they're close to the degree. They're both one's at 8 and maybe one's at 11 or something. You go, oh, that's pretty close. So I want you to start thinking this way. That way you don't quite have to memorize it. You just kind of memorize the pattern. Really, that's so much easier. Okay, now these are all you think of, okay, polarity, masculine to masculine get along, back to the top, and feminine to feminine get along. Now, what happens when we cross polarities? Usually they kind of don't get along. Polarity that is masculine and feminine don't get along, even though, we marry masculine and feminine, but this is not, we don't do all kinds of things nowadays, but I mean, this was the procreation of the species was that, but this astrology isn't that. This is just those energies. So it's like the best way I can think about it, and maybe put it in your head too, it's like the terminals of a battery, right? One is positive, one is negative. And if you put positive and positive together, they're not, your flashlight's not going to light up or whatever. If you put negative and negative, it's not going to work. It's got to go positive to negative for something like that, okay? But in this analogy, in how astrology rolls, it's not like that, okay? So here we get a kind of a clash. So something, when I say that, it's like something happens, something different is happening here. We get, all of a sudden, boom, something happens. So when you have crossing of polarities, it kind of describes the cardinal, fixed, and mutable part of, way or lens, there we go, of looking at how things get along and how you can assess something. So cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So you see cardinal signs, they may all since there's 4, they have to all be 90 degrees away from each other. So, right, there's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And those are all your solstices and equinoxes when the sun is entering each of those. 0 Aries is the spring in the north, is the spring or vernal, let's say that way, vernal equinox here. And then you have the Cancer would be the summer solstice. And then you have the autumnal equinox in Libra, and then the winter solstice, in beginning of Capricorn. Okay, so our example here, if we have Aries, and if you go, say, to the left and to the right of Aries, if you go one way, it's a square to Capricorn. And if we go the other way, it's a square to Cancer. See, we see Aries as a positive, or again, masculine, and then we know Capricorn and Cancer are both feminine. You probably notice something else, but we'll get there. Okay, same thing with fixed signs. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. If we took Taurus would be square to Leo and square to Aquarius. And then mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo. What I missed one here. One got knocked off. Where is it? Gemini. Where I missed it? Virgo. Sag, there it is. Sorry, okay. All right. So we can see that would be the same thing, like Gemini would be square to Pisces, and it would also be square to Virgo. Okay, now, interesting things. Oppositions, you probably noticed here, these will be the same polarity and the same quality. Okay, so the same polarity, or let's say this, let's stick with the quality because we're back up there. The same quality, cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Now, we already said, let's go back to Aries up here at cardinal signs. So Aries is square to Capricorn, and then it's also square to Cancer. So that knocked out 2 of these, but we were left with Libra, right? So that would naturally be its opposite, right? You know that, Aries opposite Libra. So I just want to point out these polarities. So those are the same polarity. Aries is outward or positive, masculine, so is Libra. So there's where your opposites can kind of get along, because you do have some kind of familiar, something that gets along a little bit, that same quality or that same polarity. So they could fight or they could get along. So that's why I put here that this is usually a tug of war aspect, but opposites do attract, and the lesson here is to share and complement one another versus compete and oppose. So we see these are our opposing signs: Aries and Libra, both cardinal; Taurus and Scorpio, both fixed; Gemini, Sag, both mutable; Cancer, Capricorn, both cardinal; Leo, Aquarius, both fixed; and Virgo, Pisces, both mutable. So you can see how this rolls. And again, you've probably experienced, if not an opposition in your chart, with somebody else. So you can just be polar opposites, just be enemies, or you can be like, hey, like some of these are more opposite than others. And this is kind of intriguing about astrology. Aries and Libra are pretty opposite, in a lot of ways. I mean, I kind of look at them as being more opposite. Aries ruled by Mars, Libra ruled by Venus. Even though Libra is the masculine expression of Venus, it's still way different than Aries. Gemini and Sagittarius, to me, kind of mush together. The difference, I mean, they're both scattered and out there, and they would be mutable and let's go, okay. It's like they would kind of, I think, get along really well. Gemini would be more internal, Sagittarius would be more maybe external, because it's more out, the grass is greener over there, where Gemini is more of the self, just being entertaining all those ideas and discarding onto the next one. So you can see some of these oppositions would match up a little better than others. I think Virgo and Pisces is one of the most extreme. You've got like that old show, The Odd Couple. You've got a neat freak, and you've got a pot smoker that doesn't take care of themselves, or something. It's like really spaced out, or I'm just spiritual, man. I'm being funny. But you can see the discrepancy of something like that, where our Gemini and Sag, I think, is a lot more kind of similarity. But anyway, I digress. I just want you to look at this from that point of view. Okay. All right. Let's go over to, let's do a new share. Let's look at this. Okay, that brings me over to house systems. Let's look at house systems. So let me make sure hold on a second. I probably had it, but just making sure there. Okay. There's a ton of them, and we'll probably talk about these over and over. And there's a lot of math and all that involved, but I kind of wanted to just give you a big picture and show you and how they change. And then I'll show you how I work with it, basically. So let's just give you a little bit on two that are actually three I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the Placidus, the Koch, and the equal house. So Placidus, let me just back up a little bit and give you a little thing. Close your eyes and imagine the globe, and you've got the lines of longitude, lines of latitude, the ones, they're going east to west and north to south. And our lines that are going from the equator toward the poles, you imagine, a round circle, they're going to change in distance as you go further north, because that ball gets smaller as you go toward the poles. So when we're calculating the heaven, it's like wherever you're standing, if you're standing on the equator, the way the sky looks above your head is going to look different than if you're standing closer to a pole. Just think about it a second. It's like, imagine like you're laying on your back, and just imagine yourself on the equator, and it's nighttime, and you're looking up at the sky. Now imagine you're just like, now go north on one of or south, I don't care, on one of those meridian lines, and you're going to be curving a little bit, right? So your view of the sky is going to change. Thus, we have to have some different mathematical calculations to make our 3D representation, onto our 2D chart that we're looking at. We're taking that sky and we're squashing it down so we can see where those planets are is we slice up the sky into 12 nice, neat houses. So here's the problem. When you're closer to the equator, the houses are more equally spaced all the way around. When you get closer to the poles, the houses get more warped. What I mean by that, some get really big and can be more than 30 degrees, and that makes others have to get really small. So that works up till you get really close to the pole. Then the math goes wacky, and you're like, wow, there's like, you can't have a house that takes up 5 houses, you know? It's like, whoa, this is just nuts. So that being said, let me go through this a little bit, but I just wanted to give you kind of the picture of what mathematicians, you know, are dealing with and have dealt with. So Placidus is one of the old ones, but it's, you know, it was a lot of information came out that was lost about, you know, mathematics, and this was developed. So this house system is one of those widely used in the Western astrology. I gathered all this when you know, just type in Placidus and Placidus versus Koch. I just didn't want to subject you to the back and forth, but I just pasted it all here. So you can go investigate that deeper. Astrodensed and Astrology Cafe, and there's lots of places you can dig a little bit more on it, but I'll try to give you an overview, and because it is a little bit confusing. Okay, it divides the birth chart based on the ecliptic, which is the apparent path of the sun. It works by marking the house cusps, by marking the cusps of the houses in 2-hour increments from your time of birth. The degree of the zodiac sign rising on the eastern horizon. Okay, right? That's, you know, that's what was how we kind of know. It's how we have set everything. Okay, so the degree of the zodiac sign rising on the eastern horizon at your time of birth marks the cusp of the first house. So if it's, you know, 15 degrees Sagittarius, that's where it starts. Placidus is the name of an astrologian that, okay, this system has the exact degrees thereabouts on each cusp, indicating different sizes of each house, as opposed to the equal house system where they're all the same, which we'll get there in a second. Placidus is an elegant system with a lot of inherent wisdom. Don't roll your eyes, it seems old-fashioned. It's a very old house system and very respectable. Its house cusps correlate to the planetary hours, if you're into that also. If you want a nice, solid, it's like, I don't know if I agree with put it like all that, but they all goof out at extreme latitudes. I should say that. They pretty much all do. Okay, so, oops, how did this get this one? Oh, this was just a little thing. Okay, the Placidus house system. Okay, we already said that. The Koch, also called house system of the birthplace, is defined by the horizon line at different times on the day of birth. We calculate the time span that the MC, the medium coli, the midheaven zodiac degrees has spent above the horizon since it's rising. Okay, so here's where it changes. So this is the sentence here that tells the difference between the two, I think. Okay, for mathematical reasons, Koch houses cannot be calculated for regions beyond the polar circles. See, they fall apart up here. Named after Walter Koch. And the equal house system defines the ascendant as the first house cusp, just like the Placidus. So it's like if you were born with 15 Sag, it would still be 15 Sag. That's it, okay? And then it would then, the next cusp would be 15, you know, Capricorn, and then 15 Aquarius, and then 15 Pisces, all the way around like that. The advantages of these systems, I kind of like Placidus myself. I've played around with both, and we'll look at it in my own chart because I can attest to certain things. I think our Placidus and our Koch are more, to me, it tells you more about the person, the personality. Maybe there's a slight difference of, you know, like soul-centered astrology versus outward materialistic kind of, you know, well, how's my career and my relationships and that side. Maybe there's a more of a difference in that way, which I'm just going to state that. But the equal house it makes everything equal. And that's really, I use it a lot more in looking at a career, like a vocational astrology. and also in medical astrology. And I'll go over that more in a minute. But one thing that happens when you move further north, you get away from the equator, is sometimes a house, let me put this way, sometimes a sign can be swallowed up in a house and then more. And that adds to a duplicated sign. So right now, let me give you a new screen and we'll go look at this. Okay, let's look at this one now. Okay, so what we'll look at is my chart. And if you look over here on the left, it has the date, the time. I was right before noon standard time, the city, and then that's the longitude and latitude of Chicago. And this was 6 hours west of Greenwich. And it says what I use, tropical Placidus. And we're going to look at this. Okay, so here you see I have a 3 degrees Leo rising. And then look at on the second house cusp, it says 23 degrees Leo. Okay. Now, I want you to notice, this is sometimes very confusing. You see this whole block of color here with Leo on here. That is just the whole amount of degrees. But right here at the ascendant, it was, this spot is 3 degrees in, right? So if it started here, the sign was 3 degrees over the horizon. This is the horizon line when I was born. It was just coming up, right? Right there. So you can see that the house before it, it's got mostly Cancer there. It's got Cancer on the cusp there, but it also has the last 2 degrees of Leo in there. See, and this is how things change and warp when you're reborn more north. Chicago is fairly north, 41 north, but it gets worse when you get up closer to, 50, 60 degree north. All right, let's look around and just so we can see some differences. Okay, then we have Leo on the right, on the first house and the second house cusp. So that takes up Virgo space. So Virgo doesn't rule any of the houses. It just has the planets in here now are at 6 and 12 degrees Virgo. Okay, and then Virgo here rules on the third house cusp. We got 1, 2, 3. So it's at 17 Virgo, the third house, the beginning of the third house cusp. And then the beginning of the fourth house cusp is 18 Libra. And then we have, it starts to get interesting in a minute. And then we have on the fifth house cusp 25 Scorpio, right? It's like you see Scorpio here and it's like right at the end of it. So that's the first, that's the house cusp ruler. And then look what happens now. This whole sign of Sagittarius is in this fifth house. So 25 degrees Scorpio is on the cusp, but then, so I've got almost 5 degrees of Scorpio, and it's the ruler of this house, even though there's only 5 degrees of Scorpio here. And then the whole sign of Sagittarius is engulfed in this house. And then there's still a couple degrees of Capricorn in this house. So this house has 3 signs in it. All right, and then it goes around, and then when it repeats, right? It's on the other side. So we have 3 degrees. We had 3 degrees rising, so it's 3 degrees rise, or the descendant here is the opposite of that. And then it's going to be duplicated. See, we got Aquarius, because we had Leo and Leo. And then we should notice that it's like, oh, we had an intercepted. This is called an intercepted house. It's intercepted by this other sign in here. And so we should note that the house on the opposite side will be the same. So same but different. Yeah, the other side. But so it starts at 25 Taurus, which is opposite of what 25 Scorpio is down there. So it starts here 25 Taurus, and the whole sign of Gemini is intercepted or in this house, and the first couple degrees of Cancer. Now this one though is interesting because Venus is in Gemini in this intercepted sign. So it's an intercepted planet in an intercepted sign, intercepted house. That all has significance. Of course it does. Not going to get into that right now, but I just want you to see these things. Okay, so that's interesting. And then let's look up here at the midheaven, because midheavens change a lot when we change house systems. So this midheaven, what's kind of interesting about these house systems is it puts see this 18 degrees Aries, which is up here, it puts this as the divider between, it puts the midheaven as the cusp actually of the 10th house. That is just kind of like where, when we're looking at, say, somebody's vocation, we might get way more accurate results if we look at it with the equal sign. And I'll show you in a minute, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. But let's just look at the, trying to unfold this gently here for you. I don't want you to look at these things. Okay, so here I have 18 Aries on the midheaven, and we have the sun in the 9th house, right at this house cusp, right? Look at there. I mean, it's just barely 2 degrees away from being right on there. And then we have Mars in here. And then we have the 10th house cusp. And then we have 2 planets in the 10th house. We've got Jupiter and Mercury. Mercury changes signs, it's in Taurus, and then we notice Venus over here in the 11th house. Okay, now let's look at Koch, and or Koch, however, I think it's pronounced Koch. So we see the same time and everything over here on the left, but we see Koch here. So I know how I'm running this because when I said it. Now this got a little bit different. Look at, I mean, we've got, it went from 23 down here on the 2nd house cusp, went from 23 to 28. You know, the house cusps changed. And then look at here. Now we have the whole intercepted sign of Scorpio in the 4th house instead of it being Sagittarius. You know, everything kind of moved a little bit. See how it bunched up that few degrees, made that move over. So we would know that then it would be opposite on the other side. So let's go look at that. Okay, so we have, this is the same. We still have the 9th house, you know, sun, you know, that's 18, you know, that is the same. So we still have, that is the midheaven, and then the sun and Mars over here. But look at these, you know, these changed and got wider. So now I have a different, that would be a different intercepted sign, and then the planet Venus is now in the 10th house. It's not, it's in the intercepted house, but it's not in the intercepted sign. So that's an interesting, that would be interesting. It's like, okay, I'm in here, but I'm not in this mess. So there's a little bit of different interpretation with that. And again, I'm not going to go into that, but I just want you to see the differences. We're just looking at it kind of from this point, not interpretation so much, just so I can point these things out to you. Now I want to show you side by side, and I think we can see them better this way. All right, we can see down here on the left, it says Placidus, and then the other one is Koch on the right. So again, look with your eye, you know, you see how this changed. You know, we could see it here. This was 23, and then now we're at 28, and that changed this whole little grouping down. It moved everything. And so now I've got a 4th and 10th interception instead of a 5th and 11th. So things like that. I mean, if you're like, well, let's ponder, let's explain that, and then ponder, like, does this fit you more? Does this, you know, does this roll on that level? Okay, so that makes things a lot more interesting, and you can see how it would make some big changes, you know, and it also moved the nodes into the 11th and 5th house here, as opposed to the 12th and 6th house there. So when you're like going over some of your things, your chart, and you're like, this just doesn't fit, not quite fit, you might check and change the house system. And I think you can do a lot of these online, like AstroDenst, however you say that, AstroSeek, I forget some of them because I use my own programs, but you can just run a lot of these online and make a change like that and look more and see if those things fit you. All right, so I wanted you to see the difference on that. Now let's look at, oh, I don't want that one, I want equal. There we go. All right, so this one is now the equal house system, and you can see, you remember that it was 3 degrees Leo rising, and so it just made all the houses equal. And then we got 3 degrees Virgo, 3 degrees, you know, they're all represented now. So it made the intercepted houses go away. No intercepted houses. But look what else it did. It put Venus in the 10th house. instead of the 11th. It was in the 11th. It put it in the 10th house. So that's huge. So if I'm looking at my career, and this was what made way more sense to me when I did this and I looked at my career, and anything around your midheaven is going to describe your career. One thing that an equal house system will do, it will put the midheaven in a certain house. It won't make the house cusp between the 9th and 10th the midheaven. See, that's not. This is just this line up here is the 10th house cusp. Now, the midheaven fell into the 9th house. See that, MC? In the 9th house. It's not the line here anymore. So equal house system changes things a little bit. So if I'm looking at somebody's vocation, if I'm looking at what career, where they should go or whatever, this will tell me a lot. See that the midheaven could actually fall in the 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th house when you put a chart as equal house. So what I'm seeing here, say with this person, I'm looking with this person, the sun was in the 9th house on all of that with me. So I definitely, you could see the bent with astrology, you know, that 9th house is the house of astrology. So I've got, in this way, the sun is there, Mars is there, the midheaven is there, and Jupiter's there. It's all in this in this 9th house. It's not in the 10th house. It's not so much the push for like a business, but it's that exploration and that knowledge and that quest and to understand astrology. And that makes this, like a stellium kind of Aries or pioneering or breaking through a lot of the I think I'm trying to make things more simple for people to understand about astrology, about themselves, about other people, about the other relationships, and trying to bring this in a way that makes way more sense, because it's a complicated system, but then it just breaks down to simplicity, and it's kind of the same thing all the time. It's like Aries energy is Aries. It's cardinal. It's fire. It's on the left side of the chart, on the east side. It's like about the self, it's like that is that no matter what. It's drive, it's aggression, it's energy. And that is the same no matter what. If you're looking at your chart, if you're looking at a transit, if you're looking at you with somebody else, Aries is Aries is Aries, just like any other sign. So that's where astrology is simple. Once you get those basics, then you can look at any type of astrology. So we're seeing here now, let me finish up about career. So also for me, I have a martial arts background, and black belt many times over, and you can see the Mars and Aries, so it's for me more of a way of life rather than just physical or having that. It's knowing how to defend myself and protect myself. Also, I've had let's look at the midheaven. It's like I've got the Taurus now on the midheaven, or on the cusp of, I should say, the cusp of the 10th house. Let me say it the right way. So that changes things. So instead of Aries being there, I have Taurus there. So that's very interesting, because I have been, my day job kind of thing, natural healing. And I've been into food and nutrition and diet and herbs and growing and gardens and fermentation and, all that Taurian stuff. I've had 2 restaurants. I had a dinner club, a vegetarian dinner club years ago. Although I'm not a vegetarian now, but there was a time where I explored that. Anyway, so Taurus, all about food and food production, and then is a business. I had businesses that gave me the Taurus, the Mercury and Taurus. Mercury here, all, the mind, the business in the 10th house, Taurian things, food related things. And then here it puts Venus in here. Venus is in the Gemini. So many things, many businesses, many food related business, because these 2 signs would then be mutually receptive. Venus wants to be in Taurus, and Mercury wants to be in Gemini. So, but they're both hanging out together, and they're going like, here, I'll share my peanut butter sandwich and you can share your angel food cake. Oh, good. I like both. And then here they get along better. So for me, this describes, and I had to kind of lay it out a little bit of how that rolled in my life, and then there's other things. I don't want to bore you with all that about me, but I just want you to see how I think this, when you do an equal system on your chart, you get a better handle on like your career, and it makes way more sense. That's what I find. And then also for medical astrology, it fits better as well. So we've explored that a little bit, and because you don't have the interceptions, it makes it easier to find the body parts, the systems, and it follows suit with that as well. So while we're looking at this, let's just go back to the very beginning, and then we'll be kind of wrap it up for today. The finding the aspects. Okay, so we see like all these Aries, and it's like we're looking around and we go, oh, there's a Cancer, and we know Aries and Cancer. You should think cardinal. You should at least get that. So your mind should go, oh, cardinal. Oh, they're over here, so that must be a square. So you go, oh, the north node, okay, square Mars, okay, 6 degrees, because it's kind of far away from the others by orb. But I want you to think this way. Now look around. Let's go find other cardinals. Any other cardinal? Let me scroll up. You could see. Say Libra. Nothing in Libra. Okay, so I don't have any oppositions, right? There's nothing opposing there. No planet there, I should say. So let's move on. And Cancer. Nothing Cancer, except the other node. It would be the south node, which I didn't put on here. But that would be, squaring as well. Let's do another one. Let's look at Mercury here. Mercury, okay, we know. Look at the sign that it's in and just think, what is it? It's like, is it cardinal? No, it's fixed. Okay, fixed. And then it's also Earth. We can think that way too. Oh, let's go back to Aries. I'm sorry. Aries, let's look at the element. We looked at one thing, we looked at the quality, sorry. And then let's look at the element now. So Aries, we know that there's Leo stuff. We thought we had a Leo rising. Okay, so there's an Aries and, the Leo rising, Leo, fire, Aries, fire. Okay, so there's some get along here, right? They get, rising sign would get along with this. It's in the same element. Trine. They're not trine, Mars is more trine by degree, but they're all trine by sign. Okay? And then is there anything Sag? Nope, nothing in Sag. All right, then we go back over to Mercury. So we got two things to kind of look at. Kind of, I don't know, depends on where you want to start or something. It's like, all right, I got Earth. Is there anything else in Earth? Virgo, Earth. Okay, so there's some stuff there, and there's like an exact from Mercury to Uranus. Earth. And then we know it's Capricorn. Nope, there was nothing Capricorn, so no grand trines at that. And then how about fixed? Anything fixed? So we know the fixed stuff would show off our squares, right? Because it's the same quality or oppositions. So anything, let's go to the fixed. So what's the next fixed line? Let's go around Leo. Oh, so it's like, whoa. So Mercury here is now making kind of a square to the ascendant. So you find, push and pull all the way around. Where's the next one? It would be Scorpio. So I've got planet here, but it's out of orb, but we still have it represented, Scorpio. And then we got Aquarius. So actually kind of by sign and thing, this is ascendant is a place, but I've got kind of a grand square with all those represented there. And then we can look at the mutable or air is, I'm just kind of going through them all. So let's go back the other way. Mutable or air. So I got mutable and mutable. So, there's a square there. Venus-Saturn square. And then let's see, is there anything else mutable? Oh, we got Virgo stuff here. So we've got kind of an outer orb square here. And then let's look at it by air. Anything air? How about in Gemini? Anything? Let's go down here. Nothing in Libra. Okay, but then we have the moon. We've got Aquarius. That's air moon, air Venus. So there's a trine because we have that's an element, right? Air. So it's air. Oh, we got a trine. So look at charts and think about it that way. Let's do water. All right, so we've got Saturn. Saturn is Pisces. We've got Pisces water, and we know it's mutable. So we can just kind of go around looking for either mutable or water. We can just kind of go mutable, water, mutable, water, mutable. Oh, there's a mutable. We already found that one. We go mutable water. Oh, there's a water one with the node. Okay, there's a trine. Mutable water, mutable water, mutable. So mutable here. Ooh, we got an opposition on that one. Mutable water, mutable water. Oh, there's a water. So water is a trine. Mutable water, nothing back to there. Okay, so you can do it that way. I'm just giving you something like it in my head, I kind of think, okay, mutable or water, and you go and you find those. One other thing that we talked about, those aspects, every other would be the sextile. So we got the Aries things here, and then there's a Taurus, that would be right next to it, right next door. But then the next one would be our sextile. So we would have Venus sextile Mars, because that's our 30 or 60 degrees apart, right? That's an outward masculine, and then we have Aries outward masculine and Gemini outward masculine. So there's a sextile, right? So you can go around and look for things like that. These are the major aspects. We've talked about a lot of others, but this is, if you can get this in your head while you're looking around at that real quick, it kind of helps you to zone, it's like, what is this? And is there, want to go look for friends, or do you want to go look for enemies? Kind of, go look for harmony or disharmony. What are we talking about? What do you need to examine? You're looking at it all ways. In astrology, we put down different lenses. We comb the hair different ways to find the ticks and lice. We go comb it one way, pick it all out, comb it another way. And you see different things, but from different points of view, the different lighting, the different shading, and it all gives differences of what you're looking at. But I hope you can see that it's not contradictory. You can find different things this way. I hope I explained this a bit. We'll probably explain it over in different parts, because this part, the house systems, is a little, again, confusing, but I hope I gave you something to go on, because, it's hard to calculate, closer to the poles. Most of us don't live way, way, way north or way, way, way south. So I find Placidus does really well, because we saw what happened with that houses got wider, that 4th, 10th house got wider than the 5th, 11th that I start with. That was the bigger one. So for me, it kind of made it a little bit more imbalanced. Let me just go back to that real quick to show you what I mean. Placidus Koch, there we are. All right, so this one, this 4th house here looks a little bit more, as we have 18, so there's 12 degrees, and then 30, let me write them down, 12, 30, and then we probably got 4 degrees. So it's 44 degrees in that house. Whereas if we go look at this one over here, the Placidus side, we've got 4 to 5 degrees. Let's just say 5 plus 30, 35, and then 2. So that's 30, I don't know, maybe 37, 36 and a little bit. 7 degrees more. It's that throws that off. That's that house on the right is 7 degrees bigger than the house, the bigger one on the left. That's quite a bit. You can see how I think it's distorting it way more. And looking at my chart, I don't know if I would agree with this. It's it's like having all of this stuff in my 10th house. I'm not a go-getter for all this worldly, materialistic kind of thing. It's I don't, I'm not pushing and it's 10th house things would be. It's more, corporate. It's more authoritarian. It's more where people see me. I don't think it's quite like that, but I got to think this through a little bit. It just doesn't seem to fit, as well for me. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to end that today, and I hope you got a lot out of that, because it's a hard thing to sort out, and I hope you do well on your aspects. More next time. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.